You are now listening to ForAllNerds Show, a podcast about geek and pop culture from the perspective of people of color. ForAllNerds is hosted by DJ Benhameen and Tatiana Jones. ForAllNerds Show is a member of the Loudspeakers Network, where we always say rest in peace to our founder, Combat Jack.
ForAllNerds Show is powered by our listeners. Everything we do, from our podcasts, live events, our website, are all independently funded. Please continue to support us through our Patreon page at patreon.com/ForAllNerds.
Welcome to the Fan Bros, the show where the bros are fans. Doodle.
And what's up, y'all, and welcome to another episode of the For All Nerds Show. The voice of the urban geek, the podcast where we discuss geek and pop culture from the perspective of people of color. And as always, in the captain's chair, it's your boy, DJ Benhameen, a.k.a. Professor Ann Mary Jane, Quentin Quarantino, Toss a Coin to your ninja, Charlie Brownish, Lightwork Yagami, Buzz Ouchie, a Method Mansplaining, Meek Millhouse here in the spaceship tonight. You like that alliteration right there to start off the show. Thank you very much. And joining me is
Tatiana King, the Grand Duchess of Tech, also known as Mulatto Hightower, the Ting of the North, Tatiana Kang the Conqueror, Lambo Calrissian, Flex Luthor, Ned Slanders, Dame Diner Dash, and the Wrath of Khan Chu. How you doing, Benhameen?
pretty good. I foolishly ate some blackberries right before we started recording. So now I got all these seeds up in my mouth. Hey, yo. And so that's what I'm dealing with right now, folks.
I didn't even realize it until you said something. So I hope you...
Keeping it real.
It's all right. So, y'all, we have been gone for a minute, but we're back with the jump off. Lots has happened since the last time we've had just a general show about everything.
Yes.
Benhameen, something big was announced recently.
Word?
Something...
I can't remember.
Something exponentially, incredibly amazing. I'm trying to think of all the leads. Amazing that, like, put a lot of love and pride and just peace in my heart. Do you want to tell everyone what we're talking about?
Well, thank you very much for that, first of all, Tatiana King. I got to say thank you for last week's episode, which everyone should go check out right now. You know, you can hit pause on this one, go finish that whole episode, and then come back right to this. And look, you're back. And no time has magically passed for you. And what we are talking about, which we discussed in depth on last week's episode, is the upcoming release of my first graphic OGN, as they say, original graphic novel, Jimi Hendrix, Purple Haze, by Titan Comics, published by Titan Comics, written by Mellow Brown and myself, with art by the illustrious Tom Mandrake.
The God.
The God. And Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze is a graphic novel featuring the legend Jimi Hendrix himself in, as the blurb, the blurb says, you know, in a way that you've never seen him before. Our story features around a version of Jimi Hendrix. It takes place in outer space. It's quite magical, sci-fi, Afrofuturistic, funk influence. Like, it's that Southern playalistic Cadillac type music of comic books.
Spotty
AT aliens. Yes. AT aliens in comic book form, featuring Hendrix, all of Hendrix music. It's done in conjunction with the Hendrix Estate. Shout out to Janie Hendrix. And for people who know the Hendrix Estate, is super, super tight. Like, it's funny, even on the post on Instagram about the book, mad people were just complaining about how they won't release any more music and shit like that.
I read
and I'm like, bruh, it ain't got nothing to do with this book. You know what I mean? Just peep how fire this book is. So,
well, you know how it is. Like, especially someone as prolific and the legacy of something like Jimi Hendrix, right? Like, and I just want to, like, let's take the time to really, for you to really, I know, still sinking in, but let that sink in how monumental this occasion and this accomplishment is. You worked on the IP of a legend within the culture, the actual person themselves within, again, you said you worked with the estate, you worked with Janie. The Jimi Hendrix account with like 1.2 million followers posted about the book.
I ain't like
Jimi
that.
Hendrix with the actual blue star, blue check, whatever it is on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is real, Benhameen.
I know
it's
that.
Really real.
The hairs, what little hairs on my arm I have just stood up, as you were saying that, because I still, and I won't, there's so many different levels, to this. Like, we were discussing on the show last week about how just seeing my words being done by the art of Tom Mandrake is one level. And that's just been a mind-blowing level. But I know the level of walking into a store and seeing this, and then seeing it in all the places that it's going to go because of its association with Hendrix and its association with Tom Mandrake. And also Mello and I's story is something that we really believe in and are really overjoyed with and super proud of. And we just know that it's going to go places that I can't even foresee right now. And so there's a lot to it. And then, like you said, just the whole Hendrix association, because I've been a fan of Hendrix as long as I've been a DJ, as long as I've been into music. When I got heavy into music, my uncle gave me the Band of Gypsies album, the LP, which a lot of our story is based around how that album got made. So, everything comes full circle, and it's just super ill and super wild. And yeah, I every day I wake up just like, wow, this is really happening. And I mean, like, just the fact that we even got past the pitch stage, the fact that they took our pitch and was like, yeah, okay, we'll let you do this. And then they let us do it. And like, I was talking to our editor the other day, and he's like, one of the really cool things is you managed to do exactly what they wanted to do and also tell the story that you wanted to tell.
Yes. And that's so rare, right? Like, lots of times it's either one way or another. You don't get that nice balance that allows you to be creatively free, generally speaking, right?
Yeah.
So, and I do also want to stress again for everybody to listen to that interview that I had of Benhameen in the previous episode, because if you want to know anything there is to know about this book, about the creation process, about and again, this is just Benhameen's perspective. I didn't even get to Mello yet.
No, or Tom.
All of the real personhood and experience and life that went into this, at least from Benhameen's perspective, you need to listen to that episode for real.
Yeah, you definitely do. And I thank you again, Tatiana. That was really amazing. And you did a really great job. And, seeing the people's reaction to that and the reaction to like our friendship and our camaraderie and there's everything we've established over these years. And, there's one of those big moments. And it's just, I don't, like you said, I get
I'm gonna make him cry again, y'all.
Yeah, because I don't get it. Like, I'm just like talking to my editor and like, I didn't even want to reveal this yet, but I know who the writer who was, working on this before we came on, and they had some things, and it was like, it's just a lot of legends involved in this. And it's like, wow, here we are now. It's coming out November 7th. You can pre-order it right now. And I stress to y'all, please go pre-order this joint. Like, pre-orders are so important for comic books and for graphic novels. And, just help your boy out on this one. Like, I promise you, you are more than getting your money's worth. Like, it is insane the amount of work that Tom Mandrake alone put into this. Like, me and Mello put work into this. But Tom Mandrake, a legendary artist, our editor said it the other day, too. He's like, he feels this is Tom's best work ever.
Wow.
And this man has been working forever in the game.
Right.
And he's so sick with it. Go follow his Instagram and check him out, Tom Mandrake.
Yeah, I'm excited to read the book because I know nothing of the story. Like this, I want it, and I purposely told you I want this fresh. That's
so crazy. Yeah,
fresh off the press.
After you read it, I'm gonna give you the scripts and everything, then you can see how the whole thing came together. And
I would love that.
Yeah. And once we get later on, I'm going to publish some of that stuff so y'all can see some of the behind the scenes stuff. I'm not sure, because there's going to be a lot of extra things in the graphic novel. I'm not sure exactly what's going into it just yet, as of yet. But yeah.
Let's do it, man. BTS with Benhameen.
Oh, yeah. There should be all that stuff, man. I'm definitely going to, because they're like, you were asking about the music I listen to. I have a playlist of music that I was listening to, and I'm going to publish that. etc., things of that nature. So, there'll be a lot to it. And like I say, go pre-order it now. You can go to Amazon. You can go to your local comic book shop, your local bookstore, any of these places. It's to be available anywhere. Just ask for Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze. You can Google it. It comes right up. And please just put it on pre-order list everywhere you can. Buy it for a friend. Buy yourself a copy. When you see me anywhere in the world, I will sign it for you. You know what I mean? I'm going to be traveling because it comes out in November. So next year, I'm going to be all over the place. There's a big con this weekend right now in May in London. So next year, I'm going to be there, guaranteed. And I plan to do a lot of cons this year. But now that it's coming out next year, I'm going to push that back and just heavy next year. I'm going to be all over the place. So, look for me next year all over the place. I'm going to be signing this motherfucker everywhere I go, talking to people about it, doing panels, doing whatever. Boom, boom, boom. So pre-order Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze right now. Thank y'all very much. And
yes. And when Benhameen is not writing graphic novels, him and I are speaking at the National Museum of African American History and Culture, because just to remind y'all, October 19th, that is homecoming week at Howard University, the illustrious HU. We will be speaking in the Oprah Winfrey Theater. We'll be speaking on the topic of Afrofuturism. As you may all know by now, back in March, they opened up their, 6 or 9 month, what do you call that? Experience? Exhibit. I knew it was an X. EX. Exhibit about.
Shout to X to the Z.
About Afrofuturism. And
your dog. I heard you like dogs.
We are leading the culture. We are leading the culture, but we're leading the conversation for that. So definitely put that on your calendar. Plan to come through. There might be a special guest along with us.
There's going to be a few.
But you got to be there. You know what I'm saying? You got to be in it to win it. So.
And I'll be honest with y'all. Like, all right, it starts at 7 p.m. I do know that. We do not know how tickets are being distributed and everything. But like when I told my boy who's been to the museum what theater we were in and everything, he was like, "Dog, ain't none of us getting in." Like, this is like my best friend, right? And I was like, "Yo, you got to come up from wherever you at. I'm not gonna say where you at, bro." And be like, "Yo, you got to come through." And he was like, "Bro, you know that theater? Do you know the type of people who are gonna be in there that night?" He's like, "We ain't getting in." So I don't know. I did not know this. I'm thinking, it's gonna be a thing we could just be handing out tickets ish. So we'll see. But he is of the idea that this gonna be some black tie, big dollar, cats up in there.
I mean, it better be, man. We need some sponsors.
I mean, the Smithsonian is getting that money.
Come on, Tyler
we just
Perry.
don't be like, please help.
Come on, Tyler Perry. Buy BET and put us on there, man. What the fuck?
What?
Yeah, man. ForAllNerds only on BET Plus. Listen, man, we about
Can we
that
get
coin.
AJ and Free as our best
do.
guest? I mean, as our first guest. That's all I ask. Can we get AJ and Free up on there as our first guest?
Oh, that's funny.
That's my dude, AJ. That's my.
I know.
Yeah.
And he went to Howard. Yada.
HU. That's the homie, man. Come on.
But yes,
man.
y'all. October 19th. Remember that. Put that on your calendar. Big Teens.
Big Teens.
God willing, we'll be announcing more Big Teens as we continue on through 2023.
Yes.
I know that also we are doing big things on ForAllNerds.com, ForAllNerds.com, because as you see, Benhameen and I are wearing one of the exclusives and very popular shirts. I'm a little scared, a little shook sometimes when I see this happen, but the amount of people who are going ham on that Lionel Richie shirt, shout outs to y'all. Everyone who also has the T'Challa in French shirt, I'm rocking that. But I have the exclusive colorway from when we had our Black Panther Wakanda Forever event. And that reminds you, when anytime we have live events, we're probably doing exclusive stuff that you can't get on a site or anywhere else. So that's why you got to show up. But that being said, we've already released some new stuff. We're going to have more new stuff. There's one that came up this week for a show.
Oh, yeah.
And Benhameen, you want to talk about that new that we got?
Yes, the new design that we have, it's actually done by the same person, Latina Scribbles, who did the Lionel Richie, is our Anti-Scroll Society Club shirt.
Anti-Scroll Social Club.
Social. Sorry. Look, butcher for names, words, t-shirts, whatever.
Yeah.
Anti-Butcher Social Club.
I wish you had it with you. I would say hold that shit up.
I said anti-Butcher.
Anti-Butcher Butcher Club.
Yeah. Anti-Scroll Social Club for Marvel's new show, Secret Invasion, which is dropping, June 17th, I do believe, very soon. Or June 9th? No, June 17th is The Flash. I think it's
The Flash is June 16th.
Okay. Somewhere around then, goddammit. It's coming out soon. But right now, before it even comes out, you can get this shirt. So during the premiere, you can sit there with your homies, take a picture, post it, tag ForAllNerds in the Anti-Scroll Social Club shirt. Y'all know, what logo is, kind of a parody of. We're going to go with parody for legal reasons, for the legality of it all. So, you know what I mean? Y'all know what it is.
Secret Invasion drops June 21st.
There we go. There it is. So,
and I like this design.
I love it.
I love
it's got the ill puff print.
That's what I'm saying. And that's why, one thing about us, y'all, we do quality.
Yes.
So the shirts y'all get are not that nasty, print that the man was doing in that other place we was at. This is good quality ink. These are good quality screens, good quality shirts. You can see and feel the quality. And then as Benhameen was expressing, this Anti-Scroll Social Club shirt, it has, as he said, the puff print, so you can feel it. You can feel the fakeness of the scroll as you continue on down the line. You know what I'm saying? So I love it. Good, nice, bright colors, and I think it comes in 3 different shirt colors too.
Yep, and we also have the Shang-Chi. I never know what is the proper pronunciation.
Oh, in celebration of AAPI month.
Yes, there you go. The Shang-Chi and Friends shirt, which features, just like the T'Challa and Friends shirt, features a bunch of superheroes and super characters going by their real names. So, it's for the people who know. It ain't for just everybody out there. You know what I mean? So that one is fire. I can't wait to get my hands on that. We got that one in yellow, sand, and white with black print. So, it's ill flip for the summer, like the exclusive joint you got right there, because the other joints was in the white print. So now we got the black print for the summer. Yeah. Probably going to put up some T'Challas in black print soon. Yeah. We got some more coming. I was thinking about the Killmonger had some good ideas. I don't know if that's too hotep or not, but,
And I just want to share that I'm really excited. This is not just me trying to put a commercial in the middle of the show. Because that she's trying to sell it. But beyond that, I believe in these designs.
Yes.
The reason why Benhameen and I started going so hard on merch and designing and it's soon to be clothing is because we wanted shit that reflected the shit that we liked in fandom and geekdom, whatever you want to call it. But that was cool. It's just it's too damn high, the number of geek shit that's not fucking cool. That shit that don't look litty. It don't feel litty. It don't have litty quality. We off that, right? We want shit that we would naturally rock on a daily basis. And I never wanted to sit there walking around looking like a horror all day. That shit's weak to me. I'm not trying to be in cosplay every single day. And unfortunately, a lot of the merch y'all see out there just look like straight up cosplay. We want a shit you can wear in real fucking life. And we realize us and other people feel the same way. So that's why we're going so hard on these designs and letting y'all know when we got that new one we dropping, because we really trying to make a movement right now.
Yeah, because as y'all know, if you know me, that's been my whole life, is always having fire t-shirts. If you've ever seen me out, I've always had a fire t-shirt on, and I'm very selective about the type of t-shirts, even the geek joints. And I used to did till I found the ones just like that, what I was looking for, that I was envisioning. And so now it's just we just making these joints. So I'm guaranteeing you it's going to be some ill shit every time, because as you see, I rock it. I wear these shits out when I'm DJing, wherever I'm out. You going to see me in this all summer if you ever see me. So
we going to get that. And that's what I'm saying. You get this merch, you going to get that fit off. This elevates the fits. It don't make it look strange. You know what I'm saying? No. Dr. Strange doing something strange with some change. We don't need that right now. So that's one of the main reasons why I just keep mentioning it, and why we're going so hard on this. And we just hope that y'all are proud and loving the stuff that we're coming out with. And of course, if you like what you see, hit that, what do they say? Smash that purchase button.
Smash that like and subscribe, bro.
Much appreciated. And if nothing else, when y'all do that, y'all are supporting us directly. Y'all are supporting the show. All this like, just like when you do their Patreon, you're supporting us directly. You're not supporting the man. Like, this is our, what do they call it? This is our establishment. This is our organization. We doing shit our way. So thank you and appreciate you.
Very much so.
This is our show.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And speaking of our show, we have for you a very special treat. Coming up right now, we have our exclusive panel from UCLA. Yeah, we were at UCLA.
It was UCLA. You forgot where you were. We were at UCLA proper. We got flued out to LA to talk all things podcasting, how to build your brand in podcasting, and so many other gems. Shout outs and love to Dr. Drea Letamendi, as well as Brian Ward, hosts of the Arkham Sessions. Dr. Drea, I love you so much. I don't even know what else to say, but I love you. Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate to all the students who came out to listen to us, who asked questions. That was amazing. And we really hope you enjoy what you hear.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Yo, it's your boy ForAllNerds. I'm tuned in to ForAllNerds.
What's up, everyone? It's your girl, Fantastic Frankie. I'm listening to ForAllNerds.
What's up? This is E-Man, and I'm listening to ForAllNerds.
Peace and elevation, everybody. My name is Crown, and you are now listening to ForAllNerds.
What's up, everybody? This is Troy Jeffrey Young, and you're watching ForAllNerds.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for showing up. My name is Eli Peo. I'm going to be the moderator for today. I'm going to get this geek podcasting whole setup ready and going. So I'm happy to get this event kicked off and excited to learn from some of the professionals in the podcasting field. It's my pleasure to introduce our panelists for today. First, we have DJ Benhameen and Tatiana King, who run the ForAllNerds show. Next up, we have Dr. Drea Letamendi and Brian Ward, who have founded the Arkham series, Psychology of Batman and more. So I'd love to start out and give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about your podcast for those that may be a bit unfamiliar.
I guess I'll start. I'm DJ Benhameen, and we run the ForAllNerds podcast, which is a podcast dedicated to showcasing geek culture from the perspective of people of color. And our motto is inclusion is revolution. And by that, we believe that if we are included in spaces, revolution naturally happens.
And Brian and myself, you can go by Drea if you'd like. We started the Arkham Sessions several years ago, where we were trying to figure out how many years ago, maybe 9 years ago, in celebration of a fantastic series called Batman, the Animated Series. So initially our podcast was all about the psychology of that show that aired in 1992 for the first time, Batman, the Animated Series. And from there, we began to branch out. We covered every single episode of that animated show, and then we started to branch out to different geek IPs and brands, and we moved into other DC characters and stories, and then other animation like Steven Universe, and we are now covering the Star Wars cinematic universe, which has been a blast.
Sweet. Yeah, thank you so much. And in the audience, I'd just like to mention, we want to prioritize your questions throughout this whole panel. So please just raise your hand. I'll run the mic over to you if you'd like. But I also have some questions prepared. I think a good one to lead out with is, what led each of you to create your own podcast shows?
What's interesting, thank you. What's interesting is, we didn't have any designs on creating a podcast until it became obvious we needed to. Drea was in a documentary that Warner Brothers made about 10 years ago called Necessary Evil, the Supervillains of DC Comics. And when we went to the premiere of that at Comic-Con, I kept noticing that all of the the histories that she would pull from with these characters, and she would talk about the deep psychology behind these characters. They were all animated series based, because what a lot of people didn't necessarily know is a lot of these characters didn't have these origin stories until the animated series, and now we just look at them as being, of course, that's this origin story we've always known. And so I said, Drea, it occurs to me that if every answer you gave was based on the animated series, we should just do a podcast where you just talk about that every episode. And we didn't think we would get all the way through because there were well over 100 episodes. And we were just sort of like, we'll go for as long as we can. And then it just kept building.
I will say, just like anyone at the beginning of the hero's journey, I resisted the call and said, no one wants to hear me talk about psychology and Batman. It's a weird intersection that just lives in my geek brain, and I can't imagine that people would listen. And Brian encouraged me to just give it a try. We were going to cover a handful of episodes and put it on YouTube at first, and then we branched into the necessary kind of critical spaces where you release podcasts. And we started to get a following, and I was very pleased to learn that other fans are interested not just in reminiscing and celebrating Batman the Animated Series, but also they're interested in the psychological science that emerges in each of those episodes in these unique ways.
Because this is a TV series that literally was the gateway for her getting into psychology to begin with. And so that and geekery in general. And so, yeah, it made sense.
And as far as Benhameen and ourselves, like, ForAllNerds, it's been a really big journey. Like, first of all, that wasn't even our original name. It was Fan Bros. And it was fostered from an idea from Combat Jack. Combat Jack is rest in power, always. He was a legend in hip hop. He had, he's always been in media when it came to hip hop and rap and the whole community and everything, the culture, if you will. And he had his own podcast. And of course, he had a love for the geekery, as you mentioned it, the geekdom and comics and everything else in between. So he wanted to make a podcast specifically about it. And this was back in the beginning of podcasting, where no one really knew what was going on or what it even meant or what the purpose of it was. So he was really, truly a pioneer, and he's lovingly called the Podfather. So the Podfather created this space where he wanted to build up and talk about geek culture from the perspective of people of color. And he had Benhameen and a whole bunch of people, a lot of people that that probably was too many people at the time. And, I guess after that first one or two episodes, they were like, yeah, this is not going to work. We need to retool this. He actually gave the reins to Benhameen, trusted Benhameen. Benhameen was DJ on Combat Jack's show. So he said, Benhameen, I need you to run with this, need you to build this up. Benhameen could fill in the blanks for you. But fast forward, you get myself, a young woman by the name of Jamie Rigetti, Chico Leo, and Benhameen. And our very first episode, I think we interviewed Prodigy and Mobb Deep. And, that was my very first time, interviewing celebrities, and it was just very random. That was my very first episode, too. So I'm just like, okay, this is how it is. You just get thrown in the fire. And that's kind of how this show has been built. It's just it doesn't matter. You have never done it before. If you don't have the experience, just do it. And as I mentioned, it was built around geek culture. So our love for it. I've always had a passion for animation and gaming and movies and film and everything in between. And of course, couple that with Benhameen, his love of comics, animation as well. I mean, everything you could think of. And like I said, Ben, feel free to fill in the blanks if you like. But it just grew from there. After, I think, our first 4 years, we ended up changing the name just to be more inclusive. And also, it didn't make sense at the time. So that kind of gives you a quick evolution of our show. But we did it because we wanted to have our voices in this space. Especially, I think even still now, but at the time, there wasn't really any shows like ours. Especially not from the perspective of people of color, especially not from the perspective of Black people. And we would just had the ability to just do it on our own. Again, podcasting is new. Podcasting, you're your own boss. You're your own, you manifest your own destiny. So we were able to do that.
Yeah, I really don't have anything to add on that one.
Yeah, Tatiana, that's great. I really appreciated how you said that you were just kind of thrown into the fire on some of these things and learned from the ground up. And for all four of you, both of your podcasts stemmed from completely different backgrounds, but have grown into something absolutely phenomenal. So that kind of segues into my next question, which is, what are some of the lessons that you've learned from starting your own brand?
Well, rebranding is a thing. I think especially if you start out day one at the jump, having a vision, having an idea of what your brand is, and not thinking about what is this going to sound like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And if I could do it all over, I may consider things like the intentions around branding. How could we have branded differently or better? And I bring this up to Brian frequently. The Arkham Sessions, the Arkham, like Arkham Asylum is the kind of origin of that, right? And it's such a Batman specific and even like niche idea, concept. Arkham Asylum is the psychiatric facility in the Batman universe. And I think that now that the Joker and Harley Quinn and these films are becoming more mainstream, this term is actually coming back into popularity and more people recognize it. But simply, everything from the name of the podcast to kind of your vision, your little tagline, how you're gonna talk to people about your podcast, all of that has to be really fleshed out and articulated from the get-go in order, I think, to have the longevity and sustainability that you're looking for.
And then I also think you can figure it out as you go along as well. Like you said, like rebranding, like we started out as Fan Bro Show, and after a while we realized it was just everywhere we went, we'd have to explain.
I'm not a bro.
Yeah, that, that two of our members are women, and we are just a lot more inclusive than that. And then people started using fan bros as a derogatory term, like those are like the dudes who are controlling comics and gatekeeping. So we had to move away from that. And then even our slogan, like inclusion, our motto, like inclusion is revolution, was just something that I think I said on a show one day, and it just stuck, and we were like, ooh, that is, succinct, and it just gets the point across. And even the perspective from the people of color is like something we came up with just from doing shows. And so what I will say is we always were striving to be who we are now is what it was. Like we knew that we wanted to be inclusion is revolution, even if we weren't saying it as a phrase. We knew that was always the goal. And that was something that was just inherent in us. Like when I first started the show, that was one thing like Tatiana said, it was all dudes. And I did 2 episodes and I was like, ain't no way. And I put a call out on Twitter, like there's no way I'm doing this with dudes. I don't want to listen to dudes talk about comics anymore than I think most people do. So I was like, I need some other people, anyone. And Tatiana and Jamie both hit me up and was like, I'm down. And that was that.
That's the important thing too. Thank you. That's the important thing too, is understanding that your podcast needs to be different than all the other ones out there. Anybody can tune into any podcast and hear 4 dudes talk about Batman or whatever.
That should be like the name of it. 4 dudes
talking about Batman. and frankly, we don't care. Like we heard it. It's really important to differentiate yourself, and that's why we're like, well, what are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to watch a 22-minute cartoon every week, and then we're going to talk about the real psychological science that we find in it, and we're going to then educate the listeners on what that. So really, what we're doing is we're wrapping up a psychology class inside of the chocolate of we're talking about cartoons. And that's really what's helped us, because again, no one really cares about our opinion of the animated series. And by the way, we call it, something that you said earlier before we started stuck with me. You said you didn't necessarily consider yourself a geek. I promise you are. Mm-hmm. There is something that you know more about and are excited to talk about more than any of the other people you have in your circles. Or those people in your circles, you're like, you can't wait to get together with them and talk about whatever that is. If you're a neurosurgeon and you're like, God, let me talk about all the things I've learned about whatever, you're totally geeking out over that, And so it's one of those things where if you know what it is that you love, your passion, and you can geek out over that thing, I guarantee there's a way to start a podcast around it. Somebody's going to want to hear it because, no matter how boring you think that topic is, somebody wants to hear it.
That's super interesting. I think when I had mentioned that, I wasn't necessarily thinking about all the things that I might have been interested in.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes I catch myself just going on tangents about psychology and some of the cognitive science classes that I'm taking. And my friends are just kind of like, what?
I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there a lot.
Yeah.
I still am there, I think.
She's there.
No, and that's the thing is you have all found sort of that niche of people that are excited to hear what you're talking about. But it takes that first step of inclusivity and initially finding that to be able to then kind of grow as a podcast. If that's that was my kind of takeaway from this.
Yeah.
Cool. And even along with that, I wanted to ask, what are some of the effective strategies for building a personal brand as a creative? I know that kind of goes back into what we just talked about, but were there any like more tangible strategies that you had in growing some of your podcasts?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could speak a lot about that.
Yeah. I think the first thing I would say is just be yourself.
Yeah.
Like we are, like me especially, I am, in always myself. I've always been this person. I get into a lot of trouble over it, especially in social media because I'll say things that most people won't agree with, and I can be a bit harsh and I can be a bit blunt. But it's also what attracts people to us, and people are either like, well, they mess with Ben or they don't. And that's just how I've always been. I'm like, well, you're either going to mess with me or you won't. And I'm not going to sugarcoat things to get you to mess with me. It's like you either like this, what I'm saying, or you can disagree, and you'll still probably want to follow because you'll want to see, and you'll want to argue with me. And so.
Yeah, I mean, to build off that, just you know who you are, right? And it's like, I mean, it's not rude. It's kind of like a take it or leave it thing, right? But I think people appreciate that you're not being fake, that you're being direct, and you're just showing who you are, and you have a love for these things, and you have something to say, right? And I think that's effective in building that brand because people know, okay, when I go listen to Tatiana Benhameen, they're not going to be wishy-washy about something, right? They're going to be one way or another. And they're also, it's not an echo chamber. Lots of times we disagree, and I think that's part of the fun. Like you listen to our reasonings for disagreeing, right? We're not just going to call something trash, right? We're going to give you real distinct understanding and an opinion of why, right? And back it up with facts, or we try to. And sometimes it's because I just don't like the way they look or something like that. But that's what makes it entertaining too. And then more so, and then that's the kind of like the soft side of it, right? More so on the hard, like branding type stuff. I have a marketing degree. I went to Howard, HU. So consistency. It's very, very, very important, especially in the beginning stages, to be extremely consistent when it comes to the figuring out your voice. I think I really liked what you said earlier, Drea, Dr. Drea, when you said, really have a plan in place. Your plan will evolve over time. I think any good show will evolve. It's not going to sound the same. Ours sounds nothing like it did. But at the same time, like, hey, if this is the strategy, we are, I don't know, what's the name of this place? Oh, Geek Podcasting Inc. Like everything is Geek Podcasting Inc. Grab all of the handles, right? We're talking about social media. Grab the website, right? You need a central location from which to source all of this stuff. Anything that you put on social media is not really owned by you. You need your own website, right? Get your email address. If you are trying to make this a business, get a bank account. Like, do everything possible to own that idea through and through, because even if it evolves over time, perhaps it's something that you build up so greatly that it gets acquired or you're able to sell it or whatever. At least have the ownership in there, right? No one can just take it up from under you. And we've done that with ForAllNerds, right? Like from the logo to the branding to we're saying it over and over again I mean, it's just something that is part of the psyche that you have to get within yourself and also have to your audience so that they understand and know, hey, this is what they do. This is their brand.
I think that authenticity is super important. Over the years, I've been asked to co-host other podcasts or get involved with other shows. And, I might sign on for a few months or I might agree to the general idea of a different podcast. And it has taught me how important just the passion is with running your own podcast. It wasn't because it was a competitive show or anything like that. It was that, wow, doing this every week and being involved in the creation, the development, the topics, and the actual conversations that you're putting on air, if you don't feel that you're putting your real self out there, it can be actually pretty draining. And that lends itself to feeling burnt out, feeling exhausted. Y'all have other things that you're doing in your work, in your recreation, in your side hustles. Imagine if your side hustle didn't bring you joy. So that's sort of one of the lessons I've learned is like, oh, it's not just about getting in front of a mic and recording every week. I really need to feel like my voice is authentic every time I do that. Every time we record a show, I'm bringing my real self, take it or leave it, love it or hate it. These are my opinions. These are my professional thoughts. And with that, I'm carrying with me that sense of this is my full identity. And just like Ben was saying, that some people are going to take to that and listen every week and feel connected to that. And it's not for everybody. Some may not appreciate the kinds of opinions and takes that I have on the show.
Yeah. One last thing I would add to that is something I always say is, it came from this book I read once where it's like, if you want to start a revolution, you start with one person. Like the idea of starting a revolution with thousands of people just doesn't happen. You start with one person. You change one person 100%. And that's all we always do. It's like, because when we started, especially, we weren't this massive thing. There wasn't massive podcasts when we started. There was just very small people reaching very small audiences. And so as we grew organically, a lot of the times what kept me going, especially through the hardest times, was like those few people who would reach out and email us and be like, yo, you did this for me. You changed my life. Something you said on the show helped me through this dark time. And so it's like, yo, I'm really reaching people and really affecting change in the world. And that is so powerful to me and so important. And so that's what kept me going throughout when there was nothing, when I felt like no one was listening. I would just be like, but I know that one person is listening. I know that one person has really been affected by this show. So I'm doing this show for that one person, basically, is how I used to approach it. Like, I'm here every week, so that one person, I know he's out there, I know they're out there, and I know that means a lot to them.
The only other thing I would say is that it's not necessarily... oh, thank you. Sorry, I keep forgetting. The one thing I would say is it's not necessarily just passion that's going to bring you success. There are a lot of people who are passionate about the things that they love and that they're doing podcasts about. The dirty truth is you got to spend it to make it. And really what that is it's how much do you believe in yourself? Are you willing to invest in yourself? Are you willing to spend $25 on a Facebook ad for the next 2 or 3 weeks? It doesn't cost much. No one's expecting you to come out of the gate as an entrepreneur and a professional podcaster. You don't have to immediately go out and buy, the best equipment. God knows when ours started, it wasn't. But how much are you willing to invest in yourself and in your brand just to get the websites? You're going to have to, spend some money. And so, yeah, it's important to consider, is this a hobby? Is this just something where we like getting together every week and chatting and putting it out there? Or is it genuinely something you want other people to come to the table and listen to? Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love all four of you had kind of touched on different ways to almost stay motivated and continue to push your brand and what you're passionate about. And this sort of stems on more of a personal question, but I find myself struggling to pursue some of my more creative endeavors because I'm nervous of what people might have to say and some of the hateful comments I might get. So I'm curious, is it that focus where you're impacting one person that's motivating you to keep going? Or how do you kind of navigate around some of those more like one-off comments that are less appreciative of the work that you're doing?
Right. It was a lesson that I learned a few years ago in a phrase called "do it scared." So meaning the fear is not going to go away. The hate is not going to go away. There's going to be someone, right? We have literally thousands of 5-star reviews, and there's that handful of people like, I hate their voice. I hate Benhameen and the way he smiles. Like, it's always something ridiculous, right?
My laugh is...
I hate his laugh. He laughs too loud. Like, it's always something,
I hate my laugh.
It's... My whole point of saying that is I think it's less about... I think it's more about managing your own self, right? Like less about trying to manage the other people and more about what is important to you, right? What do you want to get across? Like I feel you completely because I'm still like, I'm just like, oh my God, they're going to think I'm silly. Or they think I'm stupid or whatever. And it's just like, you know what? I have to push that away. What am I trying to get across? What is the message I'm trying to put in the world? What is the visuals I'm trying to get people to receive? Let me focus on doing that to the best of my ability, as professional as I can, or whatever the case may be. And I think when you focus so much more on yourself as opposed to what others are thinking, you're going to be more successful. You're still going to be afraid. You're still going to be nervous, but I think you will start building up your confidence as long as you just keep going.
Yeah, same thing. Thing is, like my life, I've always done creative stuff. Like I started out when I was like in high school, started as a DJ, and then I went into film in college, and I've done writing, I've done producing, I've done podcasting now, and even now I started recently in the last year, like producing music, like really making songs and everything. And so I'm always doing something creative, and there's always going to be that fear. But like I say, I'm always trying to please that one person, and then the other person I'm always trying to please is myself. Like I started DJing because I wanted to be the best DJ. I didn't care about anything other than rocking parties. I just wanted to rock parties. And I wanted people that, like, when they came away, like, yo, this dude, Ben, he rocks. And that's the same way now. Like, when I make music, I just want to make the best music. So when people are like, this is good or this is whack, it doesn't matter to me because I'm just like, yo, I want to make the best. And I just want to do everything to the best of my ability. And every week and every day, I just want to try and get better. And like you said with the podcast, like when I go back and listen to how we were at the beginning, it's just light years ahead. And that, yeah, it's I remember when we started, my executive producer, my man Chris Morrow, he was like, Ben, I don't know if you can do this. You know, straight up. He's like, I don't know if you can be the host because you have no energy. You know, he's like, you come on like, you know, and that's how I used to be. And I had to learn and I had to get the confidence. And it borders on not arrogance, but it borders on delusion sometimes. Because you have to be like, yo, I'm going to do this. And even if I'm not good at it, I'm just going to work and work and work and get better and better and better. And like I was watching this show recently, Players, and this dude's one of the best video gamers on this show. And he's like, today, I'm the worst I ever was. And that messed me up, you know, because this dude's like the top lead champ. And he's like, right now, I'm the worst I'll ever be. Because tomorrow I'll be a little bit better. And the day after that, a little bit better. And that was like, yo, that's crazy. But that's the mentality that you have to have. And you know, it's a good mentality in life, just to always want to get better at whatever you're doing.
Early on, I did not feel that I had the sort of like professional equipment internally to do a podcast. I had already gone through my graduate program. I got a PhD. I was sort of on a track to follow clinical psychology and be in hospital settings and in clinical settings. And this idea was really exhilarating, this concept that I could use a platform like this to get mental health education to a wider audience. And that with the knowledge and skills that I have, it mattered to me to get the word out. And it mattered to me that we were doing it through our passion and love for geeky things, in particular, the Batman universe and comic books and media. And that sort of felt like my, I don't know, like a North Star or a golden thread that I know I started off not great. And I'm actually being kind to myself right now. It was not great. And I forgive myself for that. I went into a behavioral health field. We don't learn how to communicate in public. We don't get any training around entrepreneurship, around marketing, around public speaking, communication, any of those things. And just like you're saying, I had to use the experience to just get better and better and better at it, and to have that sort of internal willpower and resilience to believe in myself, because that imposter syndrome was like forefront, just glaringly present each and every time the microphone was in front of my face. And that's something that I think, you know, no matter your history, your background, what you've been training in, once you start going into podcasting, I think all of us are going to have that little bit of nervousness of what is this going to sound like when it's out there and what are people going to say? And even recently, we had a review of someone saying that they listened to us so that they could fall asleep, specifically to my voice.
But that was not a negative.
No, and I thought, hey, if you're using my channel to fall asleep and that's helping your sleep distress, I love it. I love it.
But
Also, that's not a negative comment, by the way, but every negative comment that we've gotten on our podcast has been about me. And every single one, it's all me.
I catch most of the heat too.
And I'm okay with that because as far as I'm concerned, you're not actually listening to this podcast for me. You're listening to it for her and what she has to say. So I will take that heat all day long as you get to say all the stuff you want to say and get that science out there. The negativity will absolutely come. They might be sincere about it, or they might just be complete assholes. Like they're just looking to put a bad comment on something. And there was a moment early on where Drea sort of suggested that the Joker was exhibiting signs of antisocial personality disorder. And she described what that meant. And not long after, a father wrote into the podcast and said, my son was just diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. Is he going to become the Joker? And Drea instantly turned around and said, absolutely not. And here is why. And here are all the things we know about this. You have no idea how many people have this disorder and are not horrible people, etc. And knowing that happened was enough to make me ride her coattails for as long as she wants to do this podcast. Because the moment she's like, oh, I said something, someone got concerned, looked at it in the real world, and now I get to follow up with what it means, was mind-breaking to me. So that's worth every negative comment I can possibly get.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely huge how you sort of focus on the positive aspects of it rather than the negative. And yeah, to be able to actually spread information to some people where they might not know where to get it initially and have this impact on fathers that are concerned for their children is absolutely huge. Another thing I wanted to ask, and this was more related to the mental health aspect. I know that besides the whole focusing on hateful comments and the whole mentality of wanting to be better and continuing to press forward and make your podcast better, make yourself better within your presence. I'm curious, how do you all maintain your own personal mental health and how do you take steps back to sort of make sure you're doing okay as well?
That's a good question.
We're tired.
Yeah.
I'll explain why he's laughing later.
Yeah, well, I'll explain why I'm laughing now. When I saw the question on the sheet, I was crying laughing because, one, I take breaks. That's straight up. I delete every single social media from my phone. I don't keep them on there a lot of times. I've even deleted my accounts because, like you were saying, it's a lot of people who, like, we have fans. We have people who come on every week and listen to our show just to leave a negative comment. And they're there every week. And I know...
Great, because that counts as a view.
Yeah, and I know them. And, like, at this point, I was even, like, one dude, like, he popped up on YouTube, and he's there on YouTube every time. And then I finally saw him on Facebook, and I was like, oh, this is who that is. And when you put a face to it, you're like...
No wonder.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I said. I was like, oh, it all made sense now, dude. And he was like, well, at least you know I'm not some faceless troll. I was like, no, but I know who you are. And everything you say, because I'd already got that feeling that everything you said was kind of irrelevant. But now it's like, yeah, you're just here just to be mad. That's just you. You just want to disagree. And certain people like that. And so that type of thing you try to keep away from. And I just try to use social media and use everything the same way I do with the show. Like, I'm just always the same. I'm going to try and be as positive as I can, try and put positive energy out there all the time. But at the same time, I'm not going, I'm going to say some things that are going to be controversial, I'll say. And like the most recent one that I got in big trouble was when I called John Wick a psychopath and a narcissist and a bunch of other things. And people
half of Twitter just
half of Twitter had full offense for me. And then like me and Tatiana were talking about it, and we're like, a week from now, the director or Keanu Reeves are gonna come out and agree with you. And a week to the day, the director was like, me and Keanu would sit and talk about how psychopathic John Wick is every day on set. And so I ate all those comments from all those people, but and then I knew I was right when I first said it. And so just, you just kind of like, well,
it felt good to get validated.
Yeah, and then like I said before, you kind of do have to have an ego at certain times. So you kind of have to be like, well, y'all are just wrong,
It's I find that the podcasting life sort of has you on extremes. So there are days when I feel awful, like just like a huge failure. And the imposter syndrome is 11 out of 10. And I don't think anyone listens to the show, and I just want to quit. And I look at like the one negative comment, people falling asleep to my voice and all of that stuff. And then there are days where it's the other side of the extreme. Everyone should be listening to this. There's nothing else out there like this. And in some ways, if I were to talk candidly about our mental health, we really, we would be better off just in our emotional well-being if we lived somewhere in the middle, where we felt like a sense of that confidence, a sense of a healthy identity, and knowing that we've made this impact. There are people that are going to rely on your show almost for a sense of connection, a sense of validation, knowing that they're hearing their own voice, so to speak, in this content. And I think that's encouraging. And I, again, I've said this maybe once or twice, that the work is hard. It's exhausting from the beginning to the end. Even if you have folks that are on your team helping with editing, I mean, we actually are a team of 2. I just say stuff in front of a microphone, and Brian does a ton of editing and marketing and promotion, and it's a lot of hustle. And so I think that the preparation around that is knowing how to balance all of that work, and when you are feeling exhausted and fatigued from it, to kind of take a step back and know you can always come back to the microphone. You won't be a letdown, you won't be a failure if you miss a week or 2 weeks of content. And if you have folks that are attuned to you and like your content anyway, they'll wait for you, and they'll be committed to your work.
I would also say that the cognition of understanding that years and years ago I worked in radio, and there was an understanding that radio is a passive audience. The reason that you listen to your favorite radio station and you keep hearing the same people call in, a lot of times, oh, Charlie, thanks for calling in again. Oh, Susie. Most people, at the time, it was like 98%. 98% of people listening to your radio station aren't calling in. They are never going to leave a comment on your Facebook page. They are never going to leave a tweet. They're never going to talk about it, because to them, you're simply listening to their favorite radio show. Not everyone who listens to your podcast is going to take time out of their day to go leave a review or to go leave a comment. And understanding that is important, because for all the negative that you might hear, there are so many people who didn't even comment. Like they loved it, and it didn't affect them enough to make them go, "Get me to a computer. I need to leave a comment now." And you're like, well, and even if it did make that person do that, you then go, "This is working. I did it." That person felt something in that moment, and they felt the need to write something, good and bad, whatever. It doesn't matter. The majority of the people who are listening to you are never going to interact with you. And it's unfortunate. It's sad, because we would want as many people to interact with us as humanly possible. But the fact that the numbers are still there and the numbers grow means that you're doing something right. And that's just something you have to keep in mind, even when you're feeling at your lowest. Oh, more people listen this week than last week. Must be doing something right. So.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love it. And And that's sort of what I wanted to segue into. Dr. Drea, I really liked how you talked about sort of the ebbs and flows of some days you feel really bad, some days you feel really good, and you're able to pull some of these more like numbers out of the case, some of the comments, some of the interactions that you're receiving. I know I can speak for all of us when I say we also go through ebbs and flows in our own lives, and some days we don't want to go to class, and some days we don't want to be the boss of all of the res life people. But yeah, and it's all about the balance and finding the good and finding the community within your own area. So I think that's absolutely huge. And I did want to open it up to the rest of the people here for questions, sort of stemming off this.
Yeah, I actually did have a question. So something that I'm just curious about, you've all alluded to it multiple times of you talking as your personality, your identity as a podcaster. And like someone who listens to podcasts, especially like Hidden Brain and Shankar Vedanthan, I would never be able to pick that person out from a crowd of like I saw them in person. And so I am curious to know, how do you bring your identity, your personality into podcasting? As in, like, is there anything specifically that you do during podcasts that shows this, like, this is my trademark, or this is like the things that I do that, like, if I was to do that in person, that person would know.
I don't know if there's something like
that. Everyone's saying my laugh, and that's just natural. I laugh a lot. I've always been a person who's always laughing and smiling. And I have two things. I'm either laughing or smiling, or I'm looking at you like I want to kill you. Those are like my two expressions. That's all I got. And so I think it's
really bad when he's doing both.
Yeah. There's been situations, and I think it goes back to what I was saying about just being yourself, because it is like, that's something that is really interesting about the fandom of podcasting, right? Like, I've been a DJ, I've been a public person for most of my life. I've never experienced the level of fandom that I've experienced from podcasting. Like, I've had people walk up to me and start shaking. Like they're literally shaking. Yeah, and it's crazy to me because I'm just like, I'm just talking, dude. That's all I do is talk. But the familiarity with people, the amount of time you'll spend hearing somebody's voice, it creates this bond that's different. So I don't think you really have to do anything that's special other than just be your authentic self. Because when you're, like you were saying, it's like, and like I think Drea said it too, it's like you're really just hearing, like, the people who are really loving you are really, there's this meme about it where it's this kid eating ice cream next to these girls, or it's like an advertisement of girls eating ice cream, and the kids eating ice cream, and the girls on the ad are eating ice cream, and everybody's happy. And that's all it is. It's just like they just want to find someone who's like, oh, someone else is thinking about the psychology of Batman. That's what it is. It's like someone else is thinking about it, and that person is out there talking about it. So now I can listen to them, and I can agree or I can disagree, but I found my tribe, I found my vibe, and that's what people are looking for. So if you're just your authentic self, there's someone looking for that out there.
I have a very specific answer to this, because for the first few years, I wasn't using my real name. And so I was using all my social media. I had a moniker, or kind of like a comic book name. And I remember, I will never forget, like, finally using my picture on social media. And the first comment I got was, "Oh, I did not think you looked like that." And I realized, and you can interpret that a bunch of different ways, but I actually felt more empowered to be present and be out there with who I am. And I think that, for just speaking from my experience, as an underrepresented person in the field of clinical science, in many of the spaces that I'm in, as a mixed race Latinx person, as a woman, I find that I do have to use and find pathways that are a little less traditional, ways that I can find voice, empowerment, visibility. And I did not want my own brand to erase me. And so I found ways that, like, this is the platform where I'm just going to be as authentic as I can be. And Brian will probably remember times when I would say on the show, "Oh, don't say that. Don't say where I grew up, or what, how many siblings I have, or where I went to school." And then over the years, I've gotten more comfortable with being as open and public And I think a lot of that too comes from the field of healthcare, which tells you like, don't, especially as a counselor, psychologist, therapist, we're taught you don't want people to know where you live, who you are, what you care about. You're supposed to be a blank slate. And I subverted a lot of those trainings sort of in a new view around this, which is like, I think I'm actually more helpful as a counselor if I'm more authentic. And that's kind of how I worked through the anonymity of podcasting and putting my person out there, my identity out there with my voice.
As I was listening to everybody answer, I was just going back to your question, and then it made me think, well, what type of show or product or whatever you're trying to make, right? Do you want to be an actor? Do you want to build a persona where, I don't know, you're super UCLA, you're flying all over campus someplace, right? Or are you trying to be you, right? Are you trying, as you keep saying, authentic self? Are you trying to, hey, I'm really good at model cars and I know everything about it and I can tell you from a very distinct and unique perspective and sometimes even entertaining perspective because you have fun with it, right? I think that's much more easier to maintain than doing a character, right? Because then, as I mentioned, you're getting more into like your acting, you're trying to be this thing, you know, even beyond a persona, you're like this thing because that entity then starts building and getting out of control and things like that. But I think that's kind of like the first question you want to ask yourself, right? Like, what are you trying to get across? Sometimes it is. Maybe it's a fiction-based podcast, and you are this character, and you are building this storyline behind it. That's fine, but understand, can you maintain that, right? Because it does get to be, it gets rough after a while. And one thing that Benhameen and I say to each other, or we say it about when we're listening to other people, especially like when we're on panels and things like this, like, and in big public spaces where there's lots of talking. If you know about it, speak on it. If you don't, be quiet. Like, you don't have to speak and get your voice out there just to be part of the crowd, right? Like, if it's for you, it will be there for you, right? Like, and that's part of being authentic, right? Like, you know about that stuff, speak on it. You know, if you don't really know, don't just throw your, you know, coin in it because you feel like you want to just be part of the group, right? Like, I think that's also something, just understanding where do you want to be in your show, your podcast, whatever that is.
Yep. I'm good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sweet. Yeah. Were there any other questions?
She didn't want to jump up.
Hi, everyone. This is more of like a small, fun question, but what was your favorite episode or segment that you have ever recorded on each of your individual podcasts, or even your favorite memory that you've recorded on your podcast?
That's an awesome question.
Challenging one too.
Yeah, because there's a lot.
Like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And we laugh a lot. We laugh in like every episode. It's about something foolish. Maybe an all-star episode.
I mean, recently talking about the Mandalorian sex lives was like one of my favorite. That was like, this is why I started this show, was to discuss how terrible the Mandalorian sex lives must be because they never take their helmets off. And so it must.
Makes it better.
Look, I'm a person who likes using, you know.
Have you tried it? Have you tried it yet?
If I can't use my mouth with it, you know, if someone else can't use their mouth with it, you know what? No, this is
clank.
This is terrible. So that was like, that was a moment for me. Like, sadly, it was like one of those like, this is my life, but also this is my life, moments. So yeah. So there we go.
Our show sometimes can get pretty serious because we might be, we'll start with like, okay, Bruce Wayne is like putting on a disguise and going out into Gotham City pretending that he's a houseless person in order to get intel, and like, we'll talk about anything from head trauma to insomnia to antisocial personality disorder to gun violence. We really do get into these very serious topics. But I do think that the ones that kind of become highlights in my memory is when we're laughing and having fun and realizing like, wow, we're going to put this show out there. And I just said this thing that's, I don't know, kind of wild. And that's kind of the joy of podcasting is the those highlights that sort of make you feel like, yeah, that was fun. That was a fun one. And similarly, when we were covering Phantom Menace, I think there were lots of highlights there of unpacking the ridiculousn's of the writing and having moments of loving an IP, loving a character, loving a story, because I have Star Wars. I have a Star Wars tattoo. Like, I clearly love Star Wars, but I can find the comfort of our show to talk plainly about the impact that has had on me, as well as the criticisms and the judgment that we might put out there on the show.
I do appreciate the times that we will literally look at one another as we're talking. I feel like you're probably the exact same way. And I just know I'm about to say something that we're going to get here.
Yeah. Well, you
Like,
say, okay.
Is
Don't add it.
Skywalker privileged? And then you go, those blonde dudes are going to hate it. And you tease. And we're just laughing together. But then I think my all-time favorite might be, and I reserve the right to change this later, might be at Comic-Con. We did a panel with Paul Dini and Alan Burnett, who were basically known for being anybody who wrote deep writing on Batman. It was Paul Dini and Alan Burnett. And we had them on our panel, and we just talked for 50 minutes about stuff that no one ever asks them about. And that was something that was very special to us. And then Paul's wife ended up marrying us, not at that panel, but now Paul's signature is on our wedding certificates. And that's like, that would not have happened had we not had our podcast. So.
No, I absolutely love it. I think that's crazy. And I love how you can cherish some of these super valuable moments, some more humorous, some more serious, but both holding an insane amount of value, and kind of speaks to the whole podcast itself and how much these podcasts can mean to some people and some of your listeners. But yeah, we are wrapping up just because we are kind of getting down close to the wire on time. Sure. But I would just love, I know everybody's very appreciative for all four of you coming out. I'd love to hear a round of applause for these folks.
Thank you for having
us. This is Yvonne Chapman. I play Jalan on Kung Fu's CW. When I'm not on set, I am listening to For All Nerds.
This is Niambi. When I'm not busy doing the acting thing, the writing, drawing, illustrating, I'm listening to For All Nerds.
This is Shannon Houston, writer on HBO's Lovecraft Country, and you are listening to For All Nerds.
This is Malcolm Spellman, head writer, Falcon and Winter Soldier. You are listening to For All Nerds.
It's Ihoma, writer for Lovecraft Country. When I am not creating, I am listening to For All Nerds.
My name is Damon Lindelof. I'm one of the writers of Watchmen, The Leftovers, Lost, and when I am not sheltering in place, washing my hands, and sheltering from squids, I am listening to For All Nerds.
This is Kate Heron. I'm the director of Loki, and you are listening to For All Nerds.
And welcome back, y'all. We hope you enjoyed that fire conversation that we had. Benhameen is actually showing off a nice gift he received. Benhameen, tell us what that is.
Yes. You know, we were at the panel. Thank y'all for listening to that. I hope y'all enjoyed that. Got a lot of gems right there. And once again, thank you to Dr. Drea and to Brian for bringing us out there, for fluing us out there, because it was such a beautiful experience. Had us up in the Butter Hotel all over UCLA's campus. It was fantastic, man. It was.
Benhameen only knows one university, and that's Howard.
No. Shout out to UCLA. And, you know, the campus is fuego.
You gotta get their name right. You gotta get their name right there.
Yeah, shout out to UCLA. I almost went to UCLA, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was in between there, USC, and a black school.
Yeah,
you know?
I could see you at USC.
Yeah, it was to be one of the schools in Cali or a black school. That's all it was, you know, because it was film or black. So after the panel,
black film.
That's what I ended up doing, baby. You know, so after the panel, Dr. Drea and Brian gifted me, if you're watching this on twitch.tv/ForAllNerds or on YouTube, ForAllNerds, you can see right now what they gifted me. This is called a challenge coin. And on one side, it features both of them and their podcast, the Arkham Sessions. Yeah, their caricatures. And the other side, it features the one and only Batman with a slogan that Dr. Drea has adopted about him saying he's doing the best with what he's been given, which is everything, and he's still doing ish. So, you know, it's great. And a challenge coin is given, it started as a military thing, and it's given to people. Basically, you carry it around with you, and then, like, if members of your unit see you and they're like, yo, where's your coin? You know, everybody got to present the coin at once. And it's also something given to people to remind themselves to, like, do a good deed daily. You know, you carry it around in your pocket and then move it to one pocket after you've done your good deed for the day. And then you move it from left to the right or something like that. So, and it's just like, as she said, because she knows that, you know, I've lived a life and have been through a lot in my life, and she just wanted to give me something to remind me to keep going and everything. And Dr. Drea is just fucking awesome. Yeah. And I was damn near crying right then, and I'm damn near going to cry again. So thank you, Dr. Drea. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for bringing us out there to UCLA. Thank you for that panel. Thank you for everything, man. Make sure y'all go follow and subscribe to the Arkham Sessions on your favorite podcast platform right now. It's an incredible podcast. Yes. And they are incredible fucking people.
Yes, man. Great things. I think we said everything that needs to be said, but I mean, we appreciate y'all so much. As always, make sure y'all subscribe to For All Nerds on your favorite podcast platform and on the YouTubes and on the Twitch and everywhere you can think of. That's how you listen to all our amazing shows like Views from the 616 and everything that's going to come out after that. Our chats about Star Wars, Star Trek, this and that and the third. Make sure you go on to ForAllNerds.com, as mentioned, to get your fire merch. Make sure you're following us on the socials at ForAllNerds, at Tatiana King. He's at DJ Benhameen. What else, Benhameen? Anything else?
Oh, I mean, you know what else? Make sure you hit up your local comic book shop or your local bookstore and pre-order Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze. And then after that, head over to ForAllNerds.com. Make sure you pick up some of this incredible fire merch, that you are supporting a Black-owned business, because it's owned by these two Black people that you're looking at right here on twitch.tv/ForAllNerds. You already mentioned that one. So that's about it. Look, go pre-order Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze. I'm going to say that so much until the end of time, until the pre-order dates run out, because it's a limited time that you can pre-order things in. So do it now. Please let these people know that your boy moves units so he can get more books. Because that's the only way I'm going to get to write something else, dog. Otherwise, I'm going to keep slanging these shirts out here all day.
Books. 40 books. I'm ordering 40.
Like, that's a lot. I'd be impressed. Shit, you know. Do it.